The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the Andromeda sector for 3 millennia, their crystalline spires reaching toward distant stars like grasping fingers of absolute authority. Prince Zalthek, heir to the Diamond Throne, had never encountered a species that dared challenge their supremacy until the day humans arrived. The diplomatic vessel Endeavour docked at Zephyr Prime's orbital station with the quiet confidence that marked humanity's approach to first contact. Ambassador Sarah Chen stepped onto the gleaming platform, her 7-year-old daughter Maya clutching a worn stuffed rabbit, wide eyes taking in the alien architecture that spiraled impossibly into the artificial sky. "Remember, this is a diplomatic mission," Sarah whispered to Maya, smoothing her daughter's dark hair. "We're representing all of humanity today." Maya nodded solemnly, though her attention had already shifted to the towering Zephyrian delegation approaching them. Prince Zalthek led the procession, his translucent blue skin shimmering beneath elaborate ceremonial robes that seemed to capture and refract light like living prisms. Behind him, lesser nobles formed a perfect geometric pattern, their movements synchronized with mechanical precision. The formal ceremonies proceeded according to ancient Zephyrian protocol. Prince Zalthek spoke in resonant tones about the glory of his empire, the natural order of galactic hierarchy, and the appropriate place that newcomer species should occupy. Ambassador Chen maintained her diplomatic composure, though her trained eye caught the subtle condescension woven through his words. During the ceremonial feast, Maya became restless. The young girl had sat quietly for hours, overwhelmed by alien foods and incomprehensible conversations conducted in multiple languages. When she accidentally knocked over a crystalline goblet, sending prismatic fragments scattering across the obsidian floor, the great hall fell silent. Prince Zalthek's expression shifted from mild annoyance to something darker. He rose from his elevated throne, his imposing figure casting long shadows across the dining platform. "Clumsy little beast," he said, his voice carrying clearly across the silent hall. "Typical of primitive species, no grace, no intelligence, no understanding of civilized behavior. Perhaps humans should leave their offspring in cages where they belong." The translator devices faithfully rendered his words into perfect English. Maya's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks as she pressed closer to her mother. "Ambassador." Chen's jaw tightened, but years of diplomatic training kept her response measured. "Your Highness," she said carefully, "my daughter meant no disrespect. She's tired from the long journey." Prince Zalthek's laugh was like breaking glass. "Journey? You mean your pathetic crawl across space in those metal cocoons you call ships? We had achieved faster-than-light travel while your species was still discovering fire. This thing," he gestured dismissively at Maya, "is living proof that some species are simply evolutionary dead ends." What Prince Zalthek didn't understand was that humanity had been monitoring every word through quantum-entangled communication arrays. Across human space, military commanders, politicians, and ordinary citizens watched the diplomatic feeds with growing anger. But it was Maya's tears, broadcast live to 17 billion humans, that transformed diplomatic incident into declaration of war. Admiral Marcus Webb stood in the command center of the dreadnought Retribution, watching tactical displays that showed the largest human fleet ever assembled. Ships emerged from hyperspace jumps across a dozen systems, sleek destroyers, massive carriers, experimental vessels that pushed the boundaries of human engineering. The response had been unanimous and swift. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the Zephyrian Empire is demanding to know why we've mobilized our entire fleet. They're claiming diplomatic immunity." Webb's weathered face remained impassive. "Tell them we're conducting training exercises, nothing more." But humanity's definition of training proved different from what the Zephyrians expected. The first phase targeted their communication networks, sophisticated cyber warfare that turned their own technology against them. Zephyrian command ships found their navigation systems displaying human nursery rhymes while their weapons refused to fire. The second phase demonstrated humanity's talent for asymmetric warfare. Rather than engaging the Zephyrian fleet directly, human strike teams infiltrated their supply lines, turning their orderly empire into chaos. Trade routes that had operated flawlessly for centuries suddenly became nightmares of missing shipments and sabotaged equipment. Prince Zalthek, secure in his palace on Zephyr Prime, initially dismissed the attacks as minor nuisances. The Zephyrian military machine had crushed dozens of rebellions. These newcomers would learn respect soon enough. He was reviewing casualty reports when the lights went out. Emergency power cast eerie red shadows across the throne room as Admiral Webb materialized via holographic projection. Behind him, Maya sat in the command center of the Retribution, no longer crying, her young face serious as she watched the alien prince who had insulted her. "Your Highness," Webb said, his voice cutting through the darkness, "allow me to explain something about humans. We don't just fight for territory or resources. We fight for each other. And when someone makes a child cry," his smile was sharp as a blade, "well, we tend to take that personally." The final phase lasted exactly 72 hours. Human ships, emerging from stealth positions throughout Zephyrian space, didn't destroy the Empire's worlds. They did something far more devastating. They systematically dismantled every symbol of Zephyrian authority, broadcasting the process across all communication networks. The crystalline spires that had stood for millennia crumbled under precisely targeted gravitational weapons. The diamond throne, carved from a single asteroid and polished for 1,000 years, was reduced to glittering dust. Most humiliating of all, the Zephyrian fleet, pride of their military, found itself completely disabled, drifting helplessly as human vessels towed them into formation, spelling out a simple message in their own language: "Apologize to the child." Prince Zalthek knelt in the ruins of his throne room, his empire in ashes around him, finally understanding the lesson that would be taught to every species humanity encountered thereafter. Humans could forgive almost anything, but they would never forget a slight against their children. In the command center of the Retribution, Maya looked up at Admiral Webb with solemn eyes. "Do you think he learned his lesson?" Webb nodded gravely. "I think he did, little diplomat. I think he did." The Zephyrian Empire's formal apology was broadcast across 17 sectors, but it was Maya's gracious acceptance, delivered from the same command center where her tears had started a war, that marked the true beginning of humanity's reputation among the stars. Some species, the galaxy learned, were willing to burn empires for their children. And somehow, that made perfect sense.